Good evening. I'm Mark Ivy. Welcome to the latest edition of Kernels from the Cornfield. No husks, no hulls, no shucks. News with a dash of commentary to spice up your fare for Memorial Day, May 26, 2014. Salute to our fallen warriors. Today we stopped, reflected, and remembered those military personnel who have paid the ultimate sacrifice to maintain and protect our liberty, freedoms, and way of life in the U.S. of A. Today, thousands still are in the fight to keep us safe. Over the past 10 years, thousands more have shed their blood and forfeited their lives. We must never forget their sacrifice, their bravery, the lives they lived. Read and listen to my full tribute to our fallen warriors, a debt we can never repay, at FromTheCornfield.com. Driving into the winner's circle. Candy tycoon and billionaire Petro Poroshenko has claimed the presidency, winning 54% of the vote in Sunday's national election in the Ukraine. Poroshenko's win signals a desire by the majority of Ukrainians for stronger ties with Europe and less reliance economically and politically with Russia. Violence in Donetsk, in the eastern portion of the nation, is already marring the result of the election, even though Poroshenko is calling for peace between pro-Russian and Ukrainian nationalist factions. A battle continues to rage at this hour for control of the airport in Donetsk between separatists who want to join Russia and Ukrainian loyalists. The question is, will Russian President Vladimir Putin abide by the will of the people? And you thought this was a lead into the winner of the Indy 500. For Sunday, wildfires of the humankind. A mentally ill 22-year-old man went on a rampage Friday night. He first took a knife and killed his 3 male roommates before getting in his BMW and going on a shooting spree which left 2 young women and a young man dead in Isla Vista, California. The deranged individual tried unsuccessfully to also use his car as a murderous weapon. A total of 13 people were also injured before he turned a handgun on himself and ended his life. Our hearts bleed and our prayers are going out for the victims and their families affected by this tragedy. Since the tragic mass shooting in California Friday night by the lone man wielding knives, guns, and his vehicle to wreak death and mayhem on unsuspecting victims, discussion has turned to mental health and mental illness. The subject of identifying and keeping those suffering from some type of mental illness has been linked to talks of gun control, ways to keep those who are afflicted from access to firearms, and better identification of those who may be ill or suffering. Read my full synopsis of the issue at FromTheCornfield.com. Castaway stigma of mental illness. A big question hanging in the air is, how did this man with well-documented issues with mental illness able to legally purchase firearms? Taking from Peter to pay Paul. Check out my article on an intended consequence of the Affordable Care Act, hitting seniors and those on disability as of June 1st. You can read all about it at FromTheCornfield.com. Malaysian Flight 370. The disappearance of Flight 370 and what became of its passengers and crew has virtually disappeared from the headlines. Today we are learning that the Bluefin submersible will be ending its unsuccessful search on Wednesday. The second round of search will not begin for months from now, while waiting for the proper equipment to make its way to the Indian Ocean. Plans are now set for release of the raw satellite data on Tuesday from Flight 370. Hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. A top Nigerian military official said today that his government knows where the nearly 300 girls kidnapped by the terror group Boko Haram are, but a military campaign will not be launched to try and extract the girls who dared to go to school and learn. My question is, what does the Nigerian government then plan to do with this information? Scandal at the VA. The scandal is not going to go quietly into the dark night. Americans are outraged. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel, who resigned in protest from a deputy administrator position with Veterans Affairs back in the administration of President Ronald Reagan in the 1980s over the insensitivity and scandal surrounding the then Secretary of the VA, says of the current scandal, which has seen our veterans dying while waiting for health care, that he has been sick to my stomach by the scandal. Hagel noted we need to know how the problem began and find a way to solve it, then prevent it ever happening again. The former Republican senator did not, however, call for VA Secretary Eric Shinseka's ouster. Surprise, surprise! President Barack Obama made a surprise visit to the troops in Afghanistan on Sunday to personally thank them for their service and sacrifice. Afghan President Hamid Karzai showed his contempt for the U.S. of A. and the president by publicly snubbing America's commander-in-chief by refusing to meet with them. American withdrawal troops by the year's end in the country known as the Graveyard of Empires will bring a close to America's longest foreign war. Casualties to date are around 2,200. Thousands more have come home, broken and wounded. Upon his return, the president, as is tradition, laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier today to commemorate the loss and sacrifices of our brave men and women down through the years, keeping us safe. Well, that's what caught my attention for Monday, May 26, 2014. Tune in tomorrow for another episode of Kernels from the Cornfield. I'm Mark Ivy. Good evening.